You're listening to Getting It Wrong to Get It Right. Are you struggling to grow your business? Book a free business growth consultation with Joe today. In this consultation, you'll receive professional advice, step-by-step guidance that will help you achieve success, best practices and tips for improving profits. Clicking on the link in the description or contacting us directly.
Ronan, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, Joe. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Ronan, you're in business a long time. You're in manufacturing. Part of Ireland's backbone, manufacturing, is something that is kept very quiet in the country because everyone has talked about IT and Facebook and LinkedIn and AI. But when you go into every county and look at what's going on in every county, there is a beacon of a manufacturing company within that county. And Leitrim would be your county, and yourself would be a beacon in Leitrim as well.
I suppose I'll start with what we do, Joe. So we're in the wood veneer business. So we make beautiful and decorative wood veneer surfaces for the interior of buildings, whether that be a hotel reception, a hotel bedroom, a fit out of a retail premises, wherever it might be. We make wood veneer surfaces, whether that's the surface that you rest your arms on at your table or look at on your door or your panel, or have a look at from the side profile at the edge, or even the frame that goes around those panels and doors. We make all of that, and beautiful wood veneers in multiple different types and shapes and all sorts. More details on merenda.com. In terms of manufacturing, why did I start it? I didn't start it. My mother and father did. Started Merenda 40 years ago this year, 28th of February 1983. They took the mad decision to sign on the dotted line and set up Merenda. And we have been doing what we've been doing. Granted, it have evolved and I would hope innovated in that subsequent time. But it is them who started it. And equally, they stood on the shoulders of the giants of my forefathers. So we're over 100 years in business here in Manorhamilton, and over 100 years in the wood business in Manorhamilton. So my great-grandfather and my grandfather were joiners, and we made church furniture and windows and doors and stairs for houses and, as I say, churches and all sorts and shapes, and delivered all over the northwest, right up to North Donegal and across into Northern Ireland and then Enniskillen and beyond, and all down around the Leitrim, Sligo, North Mayo area. So then in 1983, my father was running that joinery company at the time, plus 5 other businesses, and then was approached to take over what is now Merenda in 1983, and then he started his 6th business and kept all that going up to around about the late 80s, where he discontinued those other businesses and sustained and maintained Merenda, largely because it had export potential. And we began exporting in 1990, and ultimately he saw the future, having just been through a very difficult 1980s recessionary time and high inflation rates and the rest, and interest rates. He understood that the best opportunity would be in an export-focused company where we created and added value here in Manorhamilton and then sold it across the world, and therefore brought in an external revenue stream into the country and into this locality, and the wages and all the rest that provided.
Merenda, where's the name come from?
So there's two parts to the story. The first one is that I tell everybody it's the Greek goddess of wood, which is just a conversation starter. The real answer is, when the mum and dad started the business, they needed to get it operational quickly. And the only shelf company off the company's office, any name, all of the names were Joe Dalton Limited, for example. The only one that was pretty nondescript that suited the needs at the time was Merenda. So that's where it came from.
That's it. So they didn't say, right, we'll name a child Merenda.
No. No, that wasn't the case yet anyway.
Ronan, it's obviously in your DNA. You know, you're talking generations being within, the craft of using wood. One of the things which I find quite interesting in the times that we live in is that what joiners used to do, and some of the most amazing work that used to be created, even if you even look at Colosseums and the art and everything, where I feel that we're losing some of those skills because machinery has taken over, and a lot of people don't feel that it's necessary, but it's an art in itself. Would you agree with me on that?
I would. Definitely the skill set has changed. And even I do some work with ATU in Letterfrack, the Furniture College for Ireland. And, they have some great students there, but they just cannot service the demand in the industry to service enough students and graduates for apprenticeship roles in different organizations. So definitely the skill set is challenged, but there's a bigger sort of societal point in that, insofar as a lot of people are picking different sectors. Young people are picking different sectors now, whether it's the IT sectors you mentioned, or pharma, or whatever that might be, which means they're not picking apprenticeships in woodworking as a choice, which means the machinery had to evolve and develop, and automation and robotics had to come along, or the demand for product wasn't going to be able to be fulfilled. And what you find, the IKEA effect, is that there's a huge amount of furniture. I suppose there's a disposable nature now to the furniture, and it's all very design driven and design led, and those sort of stable, solid pieces. In the first instance, the wood is harder to source and it's not as readily available in quality. And then secondary to that, the industry or the consumer these days wants something much faster. And so you might have fast fashion, but you got fast furniture as well. So there's a piece in there, and ultimately the advent of the CNC machine in our industry, which machines all this medium density fiberboard and other board related materials and puts in drill dowels and drill fixings and the rest. That's where the industry's at, and that's where it's going, and that brings volume and commerciality and scale and all those other things.
Yeah, and you said the IKEA effect. Yeah, it's definitely gone that route, and I'm sure there's many a man and woman that when they get this package dropped off at home, they have a panic attack as they open the box up and go, "Oh, there's more pieces here than I thought." But with that effect, it's obviously created a whole industry as well. And with yourself being one of the major suppliers within Europe, what are you noticing within the industry trend-wise? I know that you mentioned that everybody's looking for things faster, but have you seen anything sort of change again as we go into 2024 and eventually into 2025?
I suppose, look, the industry is constantly changing. There's some huge manufacturers in Europe, and scale, and their ability to build scale. And what I've seen is that there's not very many small niche manufacturers left, or not to the same degree. And it's harder for them to find their space in the industry because the big guys are getting bigger and indeed buying some of the smaller guys. So I do think there's a consolidation effect that's happening. But largely the big move in the last 18 months, indeed, if it's not the last 3 years post-COVID, has very much been around sustainability, and the use of raw materials, and the use, the sustainable nature of your processes and your strategy and the products that you use and how you use them and how you move them, where you get your raw materials from, how you get to construction sites, the wastage occurring in these locations. That's the big change, Joe, that's coming. And the real how to use everything associated with your business in a more sustainable way, and minimize your footprint on the world. That's really coming fast at businesses, and we need to be very nimble to react to it.
Do they take up more time?
Yes, insofar as I suppose you need to educate yourself and resource yourself to some degree about what it is you are going to. You can't do everything, especially a smaller business. So, everything from solar right the way through to your shipping lines and the lanes and all. So it does take time, it takes costs, and if you're honourable to it, there's a lot of administration associated with it as well. Where we're involved in our industry, there's the EUTR, which is the European Union Timber Regulations. Now, because of Brexit, there's a UKTR, being the United Kingdom Timber Regulations. This year and coming into next year, there's a EUDR, which is the European Union Deforestation Regulation. And now there's a UKDR, which is different, interestingly, United Kingdom Deforestation Regulations. Then you got FSC, Forest Stewardship Council, which is that trace and traceability and sustainability of your supply chain and the raw materials that you use. So there's a huge administrative burden that wasn't necessarily there before, which you have to comply with.
Yeah, it's ticking all those boxes. We know that, like in the motor trade, you'd speak to people in the motor trade and they say you used to sell a car and that was it.
Yeah.
And now they spend more time doing paperwork and not selling a car, which eats into their time of actually of trading.
Yeah.
So it's they're sometimes it's okay for someone somewhere to say, let's create this, but not really understanding that there's four other agencies out there have created something that the manufacturer has to deal with as well. So
Absolutely.
it all lands on your shoulders.
It does, and level playing pitch is important here as well. So that whatever regulations I'm in, I am obliged to maintain or sustain that's equally the same for everybody else across the world. And of course, that consistency just isn't there. So that adds a layer of cost that isn't taken on board by potentially other manufacturers in other countries.
How are you becoming very competitive? What's your strategy for, because as you were saying before, there's three big main competitors, but then there's a lot of other competitors in different parts of the world, which can affect yourselves. How are you staying ahead of all these?
Well, operationally, we spend a lot of time working on lean, and being as lean an organization as we can, both on the operations, physically in operations, as in our processes and systems on the factory floor, but right through into how we use our admin or our IT systems and the admin side of the business, and how do we maximize that. So we've got 7 core values in the business, and one of those core values is a cost management value, and that's we do more with less. And one of the best ways to do more with less is by leveraging and utilizing your IT to its maximum. So we try and really get as much bang for the buck internally in our given workday. Joe, I heard a man speak to me recently. He called it about the power of the hour. So it's really just trying to get the best out of people for the time that they spend with us, and maximize them, and keep them safe and keep them engaged and keep them involved and part of the strategy and what we do. So if we can get across the organization, everybody buying into what we're trying to do, that ultimately brings value in every part of everybody's day, but every part of our process as well. So our mission statement in Merenda is we go further, and it's quite bold statement. Because if you're going to proclaim that on the bottom of your emails or on your website or wherever you put it, that we go further, well then, me saying that means that your expectations have to align with that. And that if you expect me to go further, then, you step up to the mark on all and any occasions. And I guess that's a differentiator for us. Plus the unique selling proposition, or USP, is about bringing consultative solutions to people around the wood veneer requirements and their surfaces. So we do a lot of work with joinery companies, largely, also the kitchen sector, bedroom sector, and furniture manufacturers. And it's about bringing them value. And if we can get that right, Joe, and manufacture it competitively in Manor Hamilton, it all works eventually.
That brings up my next question. I get the impression that you're a very proactive leader, and you care about your team and you care about the industry. How does that evolve into the customer experience and the service that you offer potential clients?
I think it's probably just continuing from the previous point. You have to understand what drives the needs of your customer, and if you can really get that deeper sense of what it is what they understand to be value, as opposed to what you think is value for them. And I think it's a lot more about that. There's that sales adage around 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you just listen a little more, and we do customer interviews with our customers, so we do reach out to them and ask them some pertinent questions about us as a business. And ultimately you do get honesty that way. And if you actually listen to what they tell you and make some changes, it does make a difference in the bottom line. But I think my attitude here in terms of running the business and how we run the business is that all the stakeholders of the business carry sort of an equal degree of respect. So whether it's our supply chain, whether it's our customers, the team in the business, any third party contractors that we bring in, everybody gets treated with the same degree of respect. And you find that gets itself, I find it's reciprocated if you do it, if you're honorable about how you do that.
Yeah, it's treating everybody equal, and everybody wants to be heard, and they feel like they need to be part of. Well, they feel more secure when they know that they're part of a team as well.
And I think there's lip service in that too, especially with the staff. Like I would have asked things before, but not necessarily listened to them. And now I find that they're coming up with some really, really good ideas. So if you just create the environment and get out of their way, some really good stuff can happen.
Yeah, because you're spinning multiple plates, you're in the business, you're doing everything. And some of the guys that would be in your industry or in your company are specializing in one area and are living and breathing that, which you may not have the time to do. And by asking them and them coming up with those creative ideas can really enhance the business as well.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
So the future for you, the business has been going decades. And I'm sure that the business will continue on for decades as well. Would you like to expand the business, or are you just happy keeping it in where you are?
That has changed over the years as well. I suppose in terms of my view on that, I do think pace is important in a business and the sort of how that impacts on your ability to continue your service levels. So if you set your stall out in a particular way to be a particular way of trading and value, offering value to your clients and to people who work for you, I do think you need to be cognizant of scale around that as well. Will we grow? Absolutely, we will grow. Will we scale hugely into a conglomerate? No, we won't. But yeah, there is a solid trajectory of growth. There's a strategy to reflect that. But again, there's also trying to move up the value chain a little bit as we do that and make sure that we are making money and that the sustainability of our margins are there, that we can grow the business. And you got to reinvest. Look, when you have a manufacturing plant and manufacturing equipment and a building and everything else that goes with it, you have to keep reinvesting in both your people and in the plant. So there's loads of costs out there, Joe, and just making sure that you scale in a way that you're able to live your values and sustain your mission statement, then, if we can keep that right, then I'll be happy with the growth levels as we plan them.
You're an award-winning company, and, we can see that you're dedicated to the cause. Have we left anything out before I ask you one final last question?
I think probably what we're trying to do as a company is, what's value look like? How do you what's that perception of value? And ultimately, it lies in the eye of the user and the purchaser and your customer. So I just think that that customer centricity piece is what we try very hard in marketing. But in a smaller business, you're trying to do everything. You're trying to buy it, you're trying to sell it, you're trying to market it, you're trying to get the right people to do the job for you. You're trying to, as you mentioned about regulations earlier, be honourable to those regulations and government changes and external factors and internal factors and manage your SWOT and build your strategy. There's an awful lot of moving parts, and a good team is so critical, and that you can delegate to that team and you can empower that team and encourage that team and give them the autonomy to be the best they can be. That's a key part of the leadership piece for me, that you allow them the latitude to get on and do the job. But once everybody's doing the same thing, but saying it in their own words, I think that's the sort of that's the stick, the sort of guide stick that'll keep us on the right track.
Yeah, I think there has to be an element of trust. And when you're working with people within a team, they'll come to you looking for validation and looking to run with something. And you have to quickly analyze to see, is it a go or not? And then give them the okay to go and run with it after you've explained what you're hoping to get from it. And, if it goes right, they get the reward and it's wonderful. If it goes wrong, you get the blame,
Yeah. It's like that's the joys of the seat. I do talk a lot about, and indeed before I read Simon Sinek, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I talked a lot here about answering the why. So we spend a lot of time answering the why and talking with the team here about the why. So that at least if you break that down for people, that they're on the road with you, they're on the journey with you. And if you can understand the why and you can explain that to them and they buy into what you're trying to do, then they feel that autonomy because you've taken the time to invest in them and their understanding of where we're going and how we're going to get there.
When a company gets to a level, they no longer come a manufacturing company, they come a marketing company. It's like Coca-Cola or BMW. There's more money spent in their marketing to get people across. What do you sell?
We probably sell.
Let me rephrase that, because that's an unfair way. Apart from your product,
Yeah.
what else do you provide for your clients?
Yeah, well, the obvious thing of what I sell is I can start talking about our products again, but that's not actually what we sell. It's back to that Simon Sinek, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's essentially what we're doing and what we're selling and what we're offering is an opportunity for our customer to look good in front of their customer.
Yeah. Quality.
Yeah.
Is it important for you within your industry that the product that you sell knows that it's going to last time? It's going to take the wear and the tear. It's going to be durable, and it's going to last longer than the person participates or need of it. Would that be it?
Yeah, you would hope that's the case. I suppose in most cases I'm not in control of that because I'm a component supplier into the furniture sector. So my customers are the makers. They're the people that make the furniture. And insofar as where that furniture ends up in locations, the user, I can't control that either, but I'd like to think so, yeah.
Last question. What have you got wrong to get right?
Probably trying to do it all.
Elaborate
And
that.
well, not sharing, not fully using the skills around me, whether that's within the network, my network, or whether it's in the team that I employ here, and not sharing the burden sharing of that, and the fact that they're better at certain things than I am, and that their skill sets are better equipped to do things than I am, and taking too much on board, and maybe not giving them the autonomy and probably the latitude or the headspace to go off and do stuff. So there's probably a bit of that, and that's evolved. And I think probably as well consistency. So, if it was a good idea today, it's still a good idea 7 months from now. But the energy has waned or lost on these good ideas. So developing a system, a consistency of system, is really what gives you that longevity. And that never ends for me. It's a continual evolution of how do you do it better. But I do think the absence of a proper system probably has led to, more pain than was required in times past.
Well, that comes with experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you were to sell the company tomorrow, what would you do? What would be the next adventure? Say you all everything lined up and someone said, look, and you said, right, I'm out of this. What hobby, what adventure would you take?
Well, first I'd say make me an offer, Joe. First thing I'd say. What would I do? I found a very little interesting place down in Uruguay many, many years ago. And I often said I'd go and open a coffee shop down in a little place called Colonia del Sacramento, just south of Montevideo. So maybe I'd just dodge over there and get in a sailboat and set up a coffee shop.
That's idyllic. Yeah, loved it. Yeah. That's somewhere by the beach and very little stress. Very little stress on it.
Yeah, who knows? I doubt it, to be honest, but yeah, you never know.
You never know. Tell me, if someone wants to find out more about the company or reach out to yourself on LinkedIn or, find out more about the products, give us all the details there, please, Ronan.
Sure, yeah. Well, on my LinkedIn profile, if you search for my name under LinkedIn, you'll find me there, Ronan Haslette. And in terms of our website, it's merenda.com, which is MERENDA.com. So all the details of the business are there, and we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, obviously LinkedIn. Where else are we? Yeah, they're probably the main channels. But you'll see we're trying to develop our marketing, as you said the point already, Joe, turn into a marketing company. We're trying to get a little bit better at all of that as well. So, but any and all channels we're available on.
Ronan Haslette, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Joe.